All right, so I've been using quotes a lot. Most of them have been serious. This one is a little bit more humorous. It reflects the sci-fi geek in me. In the Matrix movie, there were sort of two paths, right? You could take the red pill or the blue pill. Go to the next slide. For the application matrix, it's really three paths, not two. So it's not just the red and the blue, but you have business delivery, you have COE, or you've got the fusion team. Those are sort of the paths. And the whole goal of the application matrix is to help you guide the right selection of the deployment, but also then to help you tailor the sort of scale or the complexity of a lot of the steps in the methodology.
And the important thing about this metrics is that it also lets you, it gives you a well-structured tool to explain to everybody inside your organization what kind of applications can be built by no-code developers, because in many cases that is not clear, and IT department may say, well, guys, all applications need to be developed by IT department, and this kind of tool lets you clear visualization whether this or that application really may be developed without involving professional IT staff.
So there's business, governance, and technical complexity. Got one slide on each. We sort of talked to the high-level categories inside them, but we haven't ever actually shown some of the criteria. I'd love you to sort of scan this and give feedback. We're still collecting feedback on the right criteria to use to measure, but you can see for each of these we have sort of a definition of simple, medium, and advanced. And the idea is to make this, a practical guide so that when you're working with a team, that they understand, how to sort of score each of these. So I'd love your feedback if you have a different point of view. But this is sort of we'll have a richer template when it gets built out in the book. For the business complexity, though, any feedback, any responses to sort of the criterion?
Have you met the applications that were built in different ways based on how many departments used them, or maybe you've seen some other criterias about application complexity that affected the development process of your apps? That is like part of technical complexity in our application metrics. We'll cover that a little bit later. But really, integrations, complicated user interfaces, they may require some additional investment to.
We actually, sort of funny, sort of quick anecdote, but we started with sort of a single complexity metric. We were trying to see, could we answer it with one? We realized, though, there were lots of cases where, maybe, the technical complexity was simple, governance was simple, but it may have high business complexity, right? Because there might be, it's a really business critical use case, or there might be more independency of just the business process. So we ended up having sort of three sort of categories, which makes this a little bit more complex, but actually gives you a lot more flexibility. We found. So that's why we have it split into three different pieces. We had UI UX complexity, and part of this is the type of complexity of the app. Is it like a simple portal? Is it a native app? Is it some type of omni-channel? But I think also this could be where you track sort of the number of user personas or profiles, but I'm curious whether you think that would address it, or whether you would also include it in the business side. It could fit in both, I grant you. I think, and it's good feedback. We'll take a look at it. This one is sort of, helping drive out the, whether you need a fusion team and whether you need some of the additional specialists. Whereas I think the introduction of just additional user roles or profiles, independent of whether you need a fusion team or not, I think to your point may drive maybe more business complexity. So we'll take a look at that. I guess while we have this up, though, maybe just get some feedback on this as well. We sort of looked at these criteria, around custom development, integrations, the UI, UX, number of users, number of transactions as being sort of the primary inputs. Anything else that you would look at as being sort of a major contributor to whether you needed a fusion team or not?
Okay, so talking about appliance of, we've skipped some
Yeah, we skipped
part
over
of
the
governance complexity. I think we should.
Yeah, we talked about this, in sort of the design phase, but this is meant to again help you sort of score whether you need to sort of proactively engage with like the audit team or a governance team. Does the COE need to get involved or not? There may be a lot of cases where you need their help, and so this will help scale you from really simple projects that may not have much governance needs to more high complexity where you've got either lots of access right complexity, such as detailed authorization and permissions rules inside the application, or there may be industry compliance, there may be internal data and information security requirements. So as these get higher, then it triggers more involvement and more support from the COE in terms of helping navigate through the governance process. But this is sort of the summary slide. The point being is, as you are rating each of these, you get to sort of an aggregate level of complexity, and so it'll then help be like simple for business, but maybe advanced for technical complexity, right? So as you score these, then you get to the next slide, I think. Right, you will be able to then use the sort of slider bar to help determine where you land on this matrix overall, that then guides you to a suggested delivery model. Can you stay in a pure business delivery model? Do you need to get a fusion team assembled with the right skills? Should the COE be pulled in? So this is ultimately the sort of the final result of having gone through the earlier slides and scored or graded each of the dimensions. A point on roles. We don't have a lot of time to talk about roles. This will be a whole chapter in the book, in the playbook, when we're done. But there are a variety of sort of no-code rules. Inside the team, typically a no-code developer, perhaps a no-code business architect. There's a no-code stakeholder. Then there may be roles that sort of fit outside the team. So if you go actually to the next slide, this may should help. This is sort of a little bit of a work in progress, but it's assigning roles based on, again, the results of the application matrix. So if your business delivery model is selected, then having a business architect inside the team becomes super important, right? As you start moving to the COE will have some of those roles. They will probably supply a business architect. There may be other flavors of the architect, which we don't have listed here, but you may have a UX architect, or you may have other architectural skills. There will be some governance structure from the COE leader or leaders that will help with a lot of the prioritization, also help with sort of conflict resolution between different groups. Then as you move to the fusion team, this is where some of the other personas around pro devs, perhaps QA engineers that are writing more complex automation. Also, some of the approvers around things like security, governance, et cetera, may come out of IT, especially in more complex fusion projects. So we'll have a mapping that also links which roles exist inside the org based on delivery model and sort of link back to the app matrix. Well, I appreciate all your feedback. As always, we love more feedback. So if you have additional thoughts, email or come up to us later, and we'd love to have a deeper discussion. And as we get further along in publishing the playbook, we'd love your feedback as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.